Have you ever locked eyes with someone and in that fleeting moment felt like time stood still? That brief connection where everything around you seems to disappear, leaving just the two of you. There's something deeply powerful about eye contact. It's silent, yet it speaks volumes. It connects us in ways words never can. And as we grow older, those quiet, meaningful connections become more valuable than ever. Life moves at a pace we can hardly keep up with. But in those moments when someone looks at you and truly sees you, that's when everything slows down. This video dives into something deceptively simple yet profoundly impactful. What does it mean when a man looks deep into your eyes? Is it affection, trust, or something even more intimate? We've all had those moments of eye contact, some fleeting, others that feel like they reach into your very soul. Whether in romantic relationships, friendships, or professional settings, a man's gaze can tell you more than any words ever could. For those of us over 55, connections are no longer about dramatic gestures. We've lived through the highs and lows, and now more than ever, we crave being seen, understood, respected. And sometimes that is exactly what we find in a single meaningful look. But what does that look really mean? We'll unpack it emotionally, biologically, and practically. How can you tell if someone's gaze is genuine or just surface level? What happens when someone's stare stirs something inside of you? Because as we age, we have learned that communication goes beyond words. We understand that sometimes the eyes say everything. Part 2, eye contact more than just looking. Eye contact isn't just about staring at someone. It's a language in itself, a form of communication that doesn't need words to convey its meaning. Eye contact is one of the most honest forms of communication, especially as we get older and learn to value authenticity over trivial chatter. When someone locks eyes with you, even for just a few seconds, it can leave a lasting impression, not because of what they say, but because of what they choose to reveal, their presence, care, and often their vulnerability. Your eyes can say so much. They express boredom, curiosity, confusion, or deep interest. You don't need someone to explain their feelings. If you pay attention, you'll feel it. That's why we often say that the eyes don't lie. When a man looks at you with focused, sincere attention, it can mean more than 1,000 compliments. This kind of gaze is not habitual, it's intentional. Think back to the last time you felt truly seen. Not just looked at in passing, but seen for who you are. Perhaps it was during a tough conversation. Or maybe it was in a moment of silence when no words were needed. Those are the moments that stick with us, that become etched in our memories. Let me share a story with you. Martha, 61, had just started taking a photography class. She met David there, a quiet man who seemed polite but reserved. They exchanged small talk for weeks, but one afternoon when she shared a photo of a tree she once sat under with her late husband, David simply looked at her. He didn't interrupt. He just listened with his eyes, gently, openly. Later, Martha told her daughter, "That look, it was the first time in a long while I felt truly understood." That's what eye contact does. It slows the world down, clears the noise, and builds trust without demanding it. For people in midlife and beyond who have experienced both connection and loss, that kind of gaze is healing. It's the unspoken message. I'm not here to judge. I'm here with you. Sometimes all we need is someone who will sit with us, look us in the eyes, and remind us that we are seen, that we matter. This is the language of the eyes, and when someone speaks it with sincerity, it's a language worth listening to. Part 3, what he's really saying when he looks deep into your eyes. So what does it mean when a man looks deeply into your eyes? It's often his way of saying, I see you. Not just your appearance, but your presence, your essence, your mood. When he holds your gaze during an emotionally charged or quiet moment, he's communicating something deeper than words can offer. It might be genuine interest, not just in how you look, but in who you are, your experiences, your thoughts, your silences. It might also be vulnerability. A man who meets your gaze isn't hiding anything. He's opening himself up. When someone is willing to be seen, it means they're willing to be known. It could also be care, that look of concern when someone is quietly checking in on you. When you're talking about something personal, and he just watches open and steady, his gaze says, I'm here. I'm listening. Take Jack, 58, from Colorado. After the death of his wife 5 years ago, he was slowly re-entering social life. He told a story about having coffee with Sandra, a friend who shared something deeply personal. I didn't know what to say, Jack said, but I just looked at her and I think she knew I was really there. That's the power of presence through eye contact. Eye contact is not just for lovers. It's for anyone who wants to be real, to be present, to show care without interrupting. But in romantic situations, it can carry even more weight. It's a quiet declaration of affection, a reminder that you are still valued, still seen. Part 4, the science behind the gaze. It's more than just a feeling. There's real science behind why eye contact feels so powerful. When two people share meaningful eye contact, the brain releases a hormone called oxytocin, also known as the bonding hormone. It's the same hormone that helps mothers bond with their babies and is also released during moments of trust and emotional closeness. So when a man looks into your eyes and holds that gaze, it's not just about how you feel. It's about what's happening chemically in both your brain and his. It creates a sense of safety, intimacy, and emotional connection, even without a single word spoken. This is even more important as we age because emotional connections become more valuable than surface-level attraction. As we get older, we often don't need someone to impress us with grand gestures. We just want someone who's present, who shows up, and who sees us for who we are. That's what prolonged eye contact can do. It says, "You matter to me. I'm not just here. I'm with you." Think about Helen, 64, who had been on a few coffee dates after her divorce. One man, Steve, held her gaze during their entire conversation. Without saying a word, his steady, gentle eyes communicated something she hadn't felt in years. That's the power of the gaze. Simple, but profound. She said most men made small talk, looked at their phones, or avoided eye contact altogether. But then she met Raymond. She described how he didn't say anything extraordinary, but when she spoke, he looked straight into her eyes and never looked away. It wasn't to make me uncomfortable. It was his way of saying, "I'm really here with you." And that simple act, she said, meant more to her than any grand compliment. There's a stark difference between being glanced at and being truly seen. Science tells us that when two people share meaningful eye contact, it's more than just an emotional exchange. It's a biological one. Prolonged eye contact can lower stress, reduce anxiety, and increase feelings of connection, even after just a few minutes. If you've ever felt that warmth or comfort when someone holds your gaze, it's not just a figment of your imagination. It's biology and emotion working together, reminding us that real connection doesn't need flashy gestures or rehearsed words. It often starts with a steady, quiet gaze. Part 5. Not every gaze means love. How to tell the difference. While eye contact can be emotionally moving, it's crucial to understand that not every look is about romance. Eye contact can carry many meanings, depending on the context and relationship. In friendships, for example, when a man looks you in the eyes, it may simply mean he's offering presence and understanding. He's saying, "I'm here with you," without saying a word. This isn't romantic, it's respectful. It's a gesture of listening, of valuing what you're saying, and making you feel seen. Take George, 67, a retired teacher. After losing his wife, George went through a rough patch. His longtime friend, Mike, would visit him every week. They didn't talk much, but George recalls those quiet afternoons, how Mike would just sit next to him, locking eyes with him as George spoke about his grief, never looking away. Mike didn't try to fix anything, George said. He just sat there and really saw me. That meant more than any advice. That's the kind of eye contact that says, "I see your pain and I'm not going anywhere." Now let's shift gears to professional and social settings. When a man holds your gaze during a conversation, whether it's at work or in a group, it often means he's confident, attentive, and respectful. He's showing you that he values your opinion and is fully present in the moment. This kind of eye contact builds trust and signals leadership. It's not about attraction, it's about clarity and mutual respect. So how do you know when a gaze might be crossing into something deeper, something possibly romantic? It all comes down to three things: context, consistency, and emotion. Context. What's happening around you? Is the gaze happening during a casual chat, or is it during a more personal, emotional exchange? Consistency. Has he looked at you this way more than once? Is it part of a pattern? One brief glance might be polite, but repeated, lingering eye contact often signifies something more. Emotion. What do you feel when he looks at you? Is there softness in his eyes? Maybe a slight smile or a touch of vulnerability? Those are signs that something deeper might be happening. Trust your instincts. Our bodies often pick up on signals before our minds even realize what's going on. If a look feels meaningful to you, pay attention to it, but also don't rush to conclusions. Not every gaze means love. Sometimes it simply means presence. And in today's world, even that is a rare and beautiful thing. So honor it, welcome it, and if it evolves into something more, you'll know in time. Part 6, How to Understand His Eyes, which I wear. What to look for. Wondering if a man's gaze carries true meaning. The answer lies in the details. Eye contact rarely stands alone. It's paired with body language, facial expressions, and timing. Here's what to look for. Body language. Is his body open or closed? If he's leaning towards you, facing you with relaxed shoulders and uncrossed arms, it's a sign he's engaged, comfortable, and interested. Facial expressions. Are his eyes soft and his mouth relaxed? These subtle signals often communicate more than words ever could. A stiff, forced expression? It suggests discomfort, but soft, natural expressions indicate connection. Timing. Is the eye contact happening during a meaningful conversation or just in passing? If he's looking at you when you're sharing something vulnerable, chances are he's offering presence, not just attention. Finally, there's consistency. Has this happened once or is it part of a regular pattern? Repeated eye contact over time often carries deeper feelings than a one-time glance. Take Carol, 59, who joined a book club at her local library. She began noticing that Tom, a man in the group, would always hold her gaze a little longer than the others. He never interrupted her, never seemed distracted, just calm, steady focus. At first, she wasn't sure if it meant anything, but week after week, the pattern remained. Finally, Tom asked her out for coffee, not with grand gestures, but with the same quiet look he had been giving her all along. I realized, Carol said, he had been saying it the whole time with his eyes. It's in moments like these when we slow down and truly notice not just what's said, but how it feels. The eyes, more honest than the voice, more revealing than a smile, are the key to understanding true connection. If someone is truly looking at you, they're sharing something real. So don't just look away. Notice, feel, take your time. Real connection doesn't always knock on the door. Sometimes it just looks across the room and waits for you to see it too. Part 7, Keeping the Connection Alive Through Eye Contact. As the years go by, many couples find themselves slipping into routine. The days blur, conversations become about the mundane, grocery lists, chores, and to-do lists, rather than shared dreams and deep connection. The relationship is still there, but the closeness can start to fade. One of the simplest and most overlooked ways to reignite that bond is through eye contact. When we were younger, we might have held hands more, exchanged playful glances across the table, or simply looked at each other in ways that felt meaningful. But as life gets busier, kids, jobs, health issues, and responsibilities, the simple act of truly looking at each other tends to fade. Here's the truth. Meaningful eye contact isn't just for new couples. It's just as essential, if not more so, after 20, 30, or even 40 years together. Because it's no longer about excitement, it's about presence. When a man still looks into your eyes after all those years, it means something powerful. It means he still sees you, not as the memory of who you were, but as the person you are now. Alan and Marie, married for 35 years, found themselves drifting after retirement. The house was quieter, and so were they. One evening, they decided to try something different. They turned off the TV, sat across from each other, and just made eye contact for 2 minutes. That simple act, a moment of stillness, helped reignite the connection that had slowly slipped away. Because sometimes it's the quiet gaze that speaks the loudest. No words, no distractions, just a moment. At first, it felt strange, Alan admitted, but then everything changed. He started remembering the years together, the hard times, the laughter, the shared moments that defined their bond. The silence didn't feel awkward anymore. It became a ritual. A small yet powerful act that allowed them to reconnect, not with words, but with pure attention. You don't need hours. Even just 5 minutes of uninterrupted eye contact with your partner can spark something deeper. It says, I'm here, I still care. And it's not just for romantic relationships. Whether it's a close friend, a sibling, or even a grown child, taking a moment to pause and look someone in the eyes can strengthen that bond more than you'd expect. We often believe that connection requires grand gestures or deep, complicated conversations. But sometimes all it takes is stillness, presence, and the willingness to be seen. So if your connection feels distant, don't wait for a dramatic solution. Start small, put your phone down, pause before responding. Look into their eyes, not out of habit, but out of intention. That quiet act speaks volumes. You matter to me. And that's a message worth repeating every day, year after year. Part 8, Honest Lessons. The eyes reflect the heart. As we grow older, one thing becomes abundantly clear. The eyes rarely lie. We can train our voices, put on a smile, or recite the right words. But when someone truly looks into your eyes, the truth inevitably shows itself. Real eye contact reveals what's behind the mask, whether it's sadness, love, hesitation, or gratitude. It quietly appears without permission. That's why it feels so vulnerable, because when someone looks at you and you don't look away, it's like saying, this is me, no hiding. But it's also where connection thrives. You may not have all the right words. You might not be able to explain your feelings perfectly. But if you can look at someone, and if they can look back, that simple act may be enough. It's not about perfection, it's about presence. We all want to be seen, truly seen. In a world that often scrolls past us, looks down, or looks through us, these moments matter. The next time someone looks into your eyes, pause, let it land, receive it, and maybe offer something back. Because in that quiet exchange, there's an understanding that can't be taught. It can only be shared. For many of us, especially later in life, those are the moments that stick with us. Not because of what was said, but because of how we were seen. Conclusion. Look again and hold on to what matters. So what does it really mean when a man looks deeply into your eyes? It means he's present. It means he's offering something real. Even without words, it means he sees you, not just your appearance, but the person you are. In a world full of noise, that kind of quiet attention is rare and powerful. Eye contact is not just a glance. It's a choice, a small moment that says, I'm with you. Whether it's romantic, friendly, or simply human, it's a gift, one we often overlook. It says more than any speech ever could. So don't brush it off. Don't rush past it. When someone holds your gaze, ask yourself, what do I feel? What do I see in return? Maybe it's comfort. Maybe it's interest. Maybe it's love. Or maybe it's just two people, fully present in the same moment, sharing a connection in silence. And that too is something worth holding on to. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who might need to hear it. If you've had a moment like this, where a gaze said more than words, drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your story, because in the end, the eyes may not speak, but they never stay silent. They remember, they reveal, and sometimes they show us truths we didn't even know we were searching for. Thank you for watching Talk with John channel. Take care, stay positive, and keep embracing life with an open heart. You deserve love and joy at every stage of life.